Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swirsky's Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, happy Father's Day and welcome to another edition of Bill Swirsky Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Shawn. On this episode, we are going to be talking White Sox. Yes, we got requests. We will be talking White Sox. We'll be talking Cubs. We'll be talking the Blackhawks trade and the ridiculousness of the Bears kicking competition. But before we get into all that, let's thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. So, although the season is over, that should not stop you from heading on over to icehogs.com, buying a hat, shirt, jersey, signing up for season tickets, and more. Tell them Swirsky Sports sent you. Alex, happy Father's Day. Even though you are not a father, you do have a father, and you got to spend some time with him today.
Absolutely did. Saw the grandparents as well, so it was a good day. Happy Father's Day to you. I know you are a father, so happy to you.
Yeah, thank you. I spent a little time with my kiddo, and it was nice. It was not the best weather, but it's better than blazing hot or Arctic cold, so we made do.
Well, it's funny because when I think of Father's Day, I think of just scorching hot because I feel like more often than not, Father's Day weekend is scorching hot, and quite the opposite this weekend.
Yeah, actually, I went out just a few minutes ago in the car and it said it was like 60 degrees. So yeah, so it's a nice mid-July weather for you in Chicago.
Exactly.
So I got a request. Can we start with White Sox and talk a little more White Sox?
Sure.
So I have a few topics here. So the first one to me that sticks out is, and the question was posed is, does Giolito get to start the All-Star game? And that's a fair question. He deserves it. But I think I think even bigger thinking is, does Giolito need to legitimately be considered as the leader for the Cy Young Award for the AL for this year?
Well, I think right now, definitely. I think you got to. I know it's early to think about it, but I think he's got to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's at this point in June, mid-June. I know it's not early, but it's not anywhere close to the end of the season. It seems like it's a two-man race, Justin Verlander and Lucas Giolito. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, I think Lucas Giolito, this has nothing to do with the voting. It's a much more interesting story. Justin Verlander has been dominating for many years. He's a future Hall of Famer in my book. But Giolito, I mean, he's got to win Comeback Player of the Year. I think that's a lock, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, unless he just bottoms out, and just stinks it up the rest of the year, or gets, some, God forbid, a catastrophic injury.
Right.
There's no way he can't. I mean, he went from not very good at all last year to just dominant this year.
I mean, he was like the worst pitcher in baseball last year, and now he's one of the best. And seeing that turnaround in like one season is amazing. I kind of talked about this as a 2015 Arrieta-like season. The guy's finally making a name for himself. Arrieta, like Giolito, had a lot of promise with his stuff, but it wasn't coming around. The command wasn't there. And then you make a few tweaks and you see what happens.
Right. And just here's some statistics here in comparisons. So he's number one in the American League in ERA at 2.22. He's number one in wins. And I know wins, we talked about this before, wins nobody really cares about other than it just sort of, you use it to filter who should be in the conversation for Cy Young. And then you start looking at other stats. But, he is the leader in wins in the American League. He's number one in win-loss percentage, number two in lowest hits per nine, number one in complete games, number three in WAR behind Mike Minor and Justin Verlander, number three in WHIP, which is below one, number 8 in Ks per nine, and number 10 in strikeouts in the American League.
Yeah, so I mean, you're pretty much top 10 in every category. And it's not like his whip is high where he's still walking a lot of people but getting outs. That's not the case here.
Right. I mean, he's walking, he's not one of the top handful of guys in lowest number of walks, but he's not far off either. But hits, he is not giving up any hits, and he's striking out a good number of guys. So, I mean, for me, it's who cares starting the All-Star game. That's a popularity contest. And I don't see any way, that somebody bypasses Justin Verlander because he's a much bigger name from a team that, is a World Series champion. And, it's just a kind of a popularity contest for ratings, but the Cy Young is where I think you should talk. And yeah. Lucas Giolito, if the season were to end right now, would get my vote.
Yeah, me too.
So I just, you're right. It is a little early to talk this, but it's definitely just a complete dominant season. And Lucas Giolito has suddenly put everything together. And that's cool to see. White Sox fans, even the ones that gave a lot of shit to Lucas Giolito last year have to just be doing an about face and looking up recipes for how to eat crow.
Well, I mean, to their credit, if this was any other fan base, they'd be doing the same thing. If Lucas Giolito's on the Cubs, could you imagine what flack he'd be getting if he was here on the Cubs and he was doing that before he is doing this? I mean, it's... so absolutely. I get it. I get the frustration. But yeah, I think they're very happy to be wrong about how this has transpired.
It's always better to be wrong because you are being negative.
Yeah.
What else do I have here? I just kind of want to talk. I mean, we've talked about what a good season Yoán Moncada has had, and it sucks to bring up right now that he's nursing a back injury, but I just want to talk a little bit his stats from last year to this year. So he's now 24 years old. So he's still, just a babe, just a wee lad still. And last year, his slash line was 235, 315, 400. I would call that not good. He was a 2 WAR player, which, I mean, I guess that's not bad.
Slash, yeah.
17 home runs, in 610 plate appearances, with a 33. He struck out a little over 1/3 of the time, which again, not good. You go into this year, and again, he's still very young, so he has got plenty of room to grow before he is in his, his prime age range. This year, he's cut that strikeout rate from 33.4 to 27.7. So it's still striking out quite a bit, but that's a big drop.
Yeah, and you look at the production he's giving right now, and I'm sure you're going to read the stats in a minute, but he's probably always going to be a guy that's going to strike out a little more than average, but when the results are coming, I mean, do you really care that much?
No, you don't. I mean, it's just when the strikeouts are happening. If you're striking out consistently with runners in scoring position and all of your stats are, or with nobody on, or you're up by a lot or down by a lot, you sort of take notice. But as long as you're spacing those out and you're getting some timely hits, I think you can live with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
His slash line currently is 295, 345, 506. So significantly better.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
And his WAR currently, after only 274 plate appearances, so less than half of the plate appearances he has last year, he's already surpassed that WAR. He's at 2.1. And last year in 610 plate appearances, his weighted runs created plus, his WRC plus was 97. So far this year, it's 128.
Yeah, that is quite the improvement. He looks like a more confident player up there. You know what I mean? Because you saw him in his first few years, and there were times where he just looked so lost. Even though he had a good eye at the plate, he just looked lost, and you saw some awkward swings, and obviously you'd see him take pitches that he should swing at. Now you see a lot more confidence.
I mean, honestly, there's a lot of comparison between Javi Baez and Tim Anderson. But I would think,
which annoys me no end, just saying.
Yeah, but I would say if you're talking better comparison, I would think Javi Baez and not the type of player, but just the progression where would be Yoan Moncada with Javi Baez. Both guys with big power, and they came in and they really struggled with the strikeouts. I would say Yoan Moncada significantly less than Javi Baez, but still just a big strikeouts, and the light sort of just comes on. And Yoan Moncada, even if this is his ceiling, I think you're pretty happy with that type of player.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think that's quite his ceiling. It may be a little higher, but even if this is roughly his ceiling, you're going to take that every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you start thinking about it, he's still going to grow into his prime. And then the batting order around him is growing into their prime. You're going to have Eloy. Eventually you're going to have Lewis Robert. You're going to have, Tim Anderson's just coming into his prime. Likely next year, the year after, Nick Madrigal. You're going to have a bunch of young guys in their prime, all, be protecting each other in the batting order. There's nowhere to really to bat around.
That's going to be the best lineup in the AL if it all works out for a number of years.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about it, just quick thought is, did the White Sox actually, we gave them, us personally, and, the whole baseball universe gave the White Sox a lot of flack about not signing Manny Machado.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start thinking about it, was that a bad, I know that they did want to sign him, but is that a bad thing that they didn't get him?
I think it would have been a good thing if they got him, but not getting him, like I said earlier, doesn't derail the rebuild. I don't see any negatives of getting Manny Machado, but I don't think it was doom and gloom. Like everything is canceled now.
No, because if you look, is Yoan Moncada, you move him to third. You're pretty happy with what you got there. Tim Anderson is coming into his own, playing short. Right now you've got whoever playing second, but Nick Madrigal is going to be your future second baseman. And right now his slash line in the minors, he's starting to figure it out, is 438, 486, 563, with an over 1 for OPS.
And how many games? What's the sample size for that?
That I have to look. It's not huge, but
still.
Those are some good numbers. So Nick Madrigal is looking like the guy that you drafted. So I don't even know where you would have I mean, you always find space for a guy like Manny Machado, but don't you have a logjam there? Like, you'd have to trade somebody to stop a logjam.
You probably would. And, the more that I think about it, the more I think maybe in the long run, it might be okay not getting Manny Machado. I'm not going to say them missing out on Manny Machado was a victory yet, but I also think that there are reasons to look at it and say, hey, we're actually doing pretty okay without him. I mean, I don't think Sox fans right now are, at least not the ones I know, I don't think they're sitting there thinking, oh man, Manny Machado this, Manny Machado that. Right now the focus is strictly, hey, look at what our young kids are doing. That's the focus right now. Not we missed out on Manny Machado. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. But, you can stop beating yourself up about not getting him. Because your replacement guys are playing well, and your second base situation is going to resolve itself soon enough. Yeah, so it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
What else do we have? Luis Robert, again, another guy starting to tear it up. When he was still in single A ball, he batted 453, slashing 453, 512, 920.
Yeah, that's
for an OPS of 1.432 with 8 home runs. Moved up to Double A, and he's batting 307, 351, and I can't read my handwriting for something, but he's got an 850 OPS. So, I mean, he's still a ways off, I think, because he's broad, but he's really starting to hammer the baseball, and that's a fantastic sign. When we saw this with the Cubs, and we talked about it before, is you can have a whole farm system of great players, but there's a product of player development once you're at that level, and it's also luck. There's a lot of luck involved. And we talked about how the Cubs had a lot of luck that went into it when they made that leap and ended up winning a World Series. And we talked about it, the Cubs or the White Sox didn't look like they were having a lot of luck with a lot of the injuries, but you're starting to see the hitters really start to look good. And, once you get the pitching straightened out and people healthy and back on track, this is shaping up to be an absolutely ridiculous lineup.
Yeah, it is. Like I'll be completely honest. I think this team is going to be winning more titles than we think, or at least having a shot at them. I mean, think about it. Who in that division is going to stop them in a year or two?
Nobody, because
nobody.
Detroit's still stuck in purgatory.
They're going to be bad for maybe another decade.
And the Indians are on their decline. I still think
big time.
I mean, I guess it's going to be the Twins. But the thing with the benefit you have over the Twins, which is you are in a bigger market to spend money, which the Cubs or the White Sox don't, because they're notoriously cheap with that ownership. But you do have the ability to, to be able to, spend more money than Minnesota. Minnesota is always they're frugal on things because they don't have the baseball revenue of some of the bigger cities.
And it's funny because they do draw well. They have a pretty solid fan base, but it's not like they have. It's all about the TV deals and the marketing, and they don't have that kind of revenue that some of the other bigger markets have. And yeah, I can't remember the last time they signed a huge free agent. I think a lot of their big deals were extensions on guys like Joe Mauer back in the day. And I see the Twins as they're going to be good this year. We'll see how long that lasts. Next year, they may go back to just floundering again because that's what they seem to do. Every time they have a 90-plus win season, the next year they lose 90 games. So that division is going to be awful, and the White Sox are they're going to beat up on those teams mercilessly. They already kind of are.
And that's kind of the MO of a lot of the smaller market teams, small to mid market teams, is you have a fantastic, sensational season, and you're not able to patch deficiencies and holes on the fly, and they catch up to you, and you fall back down. The bigger market teams, you have a closer get hurt. You have the resources to go out and get another one. If you realize that you need a veteran bat off the bench, you can go get one. Those types of things catch up to small and mid-market cities much more so. And so they don't tend to have the staying power. But so I will see what lies ahead for Minnesota. I think they've got a lot of young talent, so I think they'll be fairly good for a good while coming. But the White Sox, man, if the ownership opens its wallet and lets them spend a little bit of money, and I'm not even talking about $200 million payroll, but lets them go get a couple of free agents. Good grief. This rebuild could go from rebuild, this team stinks, to a situation where you're competing for a World Series real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could find yourself.
I think they're going to be just scary good.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the video of the Blues fan that they interviewed after they won the Stanley Cup, right? Where he was like, that team stinks. I stopped watching games back in January. They're the worst team in the league. And that rebuild's going to happen so fast. You're going to have White Sox fans that are like, I quit watching that team. They stink. Their ownership is terrible. They just won the World Series. What? And then you watch them do a stupid little Southside dance.
Yeah, no, that's so true. The one thing I really wanted to talk about, or two things really, because there's a little bit of news. The news is that they're bringing up Zach Collins. I believe he's a catcher. Yes. Catcher DH.
Yeah.
I wonder if that means that's the end for Wellington Castillo.
That's a thing I didn't understand is you've got McCann who's hitting really well, and he's a good
tearing it up.
Why the hell are you giving so much playing time to Wellington Castillo?
And why is Wellington Castillo batting cleanup so much?
I don't understand. And Zach, I'm hoping the plan is to bat him mostly DH and then fill in catcher sparingly. I guess it's the American League, but I just don't want to take too many at bats away from McCann for this. And you don't want to take at bats away from a young player because they need them for their progression. But with the AL, you've got the DH, so you can still have a catcher and another guy that's a catcher still batting and keep that bat in the lineup, I guess.
Yeah, I would imagine they're going to do a lot of DHing. I think, their next two games are against the Cubs, and it's going to be in a National League park, so you're obviously not going to have a DH there. I would assume that he'd at least get a pinch hit opportunity. I don't know. Do you think they'd start him a catcher in any of those two games? It's hard for me to imagine, but I could be wrong. Wild card
team. You never know. You didn't expect Wellington Castillo to bat cleanup, so.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that works. Numbers this year, he's played in 48 games in AAA, 258, 382, 497, 9 homers, 38 RBI. So he's getting on base and he's slugging. I know the strikeouts have been a problem with him, but he's got a lot of good power. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. I think that this is time to at least get him a chance to see what he looks like in the majors. I think that James McCann should be their everyday catcher going forward. I just think he's better than old beef in every aspect now. Wellington Castillo's had some really good seasons. He's been a decent hitter. He's had some good power. He was never a spectacular catcher, but I mean, he was a good bat, and I thought it was a good signing for the Sox when they brought him in, and it was like, okay, here's a veteran catcher who could hit, maybe could help out with some of the young pitchers. But I think you're getting to a point where some of those fill-in veterans, you got to say bye-bye and say hello to some of your youngsters.
I'm fine with that. I mean, that seems to be the White Sox MO is playing young guys with the development at the major league level. But you just got to make sure that they don't lose playing time. They've got to keep playing regular innings.
Minutes.
And,
what is it, hockey?
Yeah, you need to keep playing. You can't be riding the bench. You're not developing that way.
No, of course not. And that's why I think Zach Collins will either be a DH or maybe this is just a short little stint. We've seen that before. I really don't know, because there's just no way I could imagine them saying, "Hi, Zach Collins, you're the everyday catcher now." I don't see that.
So I guess one other question is, and this is not my question. It's one that I've seen posed a lot of places. When does Cease get called up?
Yeah, I know that I've heard a few conflicting things. Some think it's going to be in July. Some reporters have said maybe not until later than that. It's going to be, barring injury, God forbid, it's going to be some point this year. I could see July because, the Sox in July, they could be in a hunt. They could be in a hunt. So maybe that'd be a good opportunity for them to call up a guy like Cease, see what he can do, because they're not going to be trading away a lot of guys. I think they're at the point where they're not going to just be selling off, and I don't think they're going to be buying unless something really swings around. So I think it may depend on where they are exactly in the standings. If they feel like they have an outside shot or a good shot to maybe make a run at a wild card spot, maybe you're tempted to bring them up a little earlier, because you really, even if you're in a race this year, you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I don't understand what the rush is. Personally, is, do you want him to get beat up here at the major league level? I don't think he's quite ready to be impactful. And do you want him to just keep developing in the minors? Because if you look at his stats, like he hasn't been like, killing it down there. If you look at a game by game basis, his last outing was 5 innings pitched and he gave up 4 earned runs. The one before that was 2/3 of an inning and he gave up 4 earned runs. The one before that, 3 earned runs in 5 innings. And let's see. So like he's 3 earned runs in 6 innings, 2 earned runs in 3 2/3, 4 runs in 3 2/3. So he hasn't been just lights out. He's had a few games here and there where he has, but I wouldn't say he was consistent enough. So do you want to see him come up and go through his struggles at the major league level, or iron some things out at the minors while you're still, not a good team?
Well, I think that's why they're preaching patience. I just feel like at some point this year, they're going to say, look, we got to see at the major league level. Right now, I don't know exactly when that is. Looking at the stats right now, it seems like the walks are a little bit of an issue, 3.9 per 9. The ERA is 4.37, so not bad, not particularly good. It's pretty mediocre, I'd say. The whip is 1.5, so that's a little high. Yeah, I guess it's going to really also depend on how he's developing as well down there. The Ks per 9 are a little down, too. 9.4 is not bad by any means. But last year was 11.6. The year before that, it was 12.2. The year before that, it was 13.3. I mean, keep in mind, those are different levels. So I think part of the reason fans really want to see Cease is that they're tired of Manny Benuelos and Ivan Nova and Irvin Santana and whoever is filling in around Lucas Giolito, which I get, but I think no matter how I feel, July, August, September, whenever, it's probably best to let the White Sox organization determine what's best in this scenario. And again, that could be a month from now, 2 months. I don't really know.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed on that. The last point is the outcry for him is because of this team is hovering around 500. They're only 3.5 games out of the wild card with some of the worst starting pitching I've ever seen on a team that's not in the basement. And so that means their batting is good. And you've got Lucas Giolito that's just, every fifth day is a win. And then everything else, you're just like, all right, we better score more runs because we're not pitching well. And I think that's the thing. People are like, well, if we could get one of these guys to pitch halfway decent, my concern is, do you stunt his growth by subjecting him to much better hitters when he's still trying to figure things out in the minors?
Yeah, I guess the other question I have in this scenario is, I don't have the data in front of me. I haven't really heard anything about a velocity drop or anything, but what I want to know is the velocity, is the stuff at least consistent? I think that's another big factor when it comes to these kind of things.
Yeah, and I think he will come up this year. It's just I'm not one of the people that's rushing to call for it to happen soon. You look at the standings, and it's going to depend on a few things. Like Minnesota's got such a big lead, you're not catching them in the division. So let's cross that one off. Houston's too good. They're gonna win that division. Let's cross that off. And you've got one of the three between the Yankees, the Rays, Boston. One of them's winning the division. That's there. But ahead of you in the wild card race are the A's, Cleveland, Boston, Texas, and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay and Texas have the 2 wild card spots right now. I don't know if I fully believe in Texas.
I don't either. I don't think that pitching's very good.
I don't think they're a bad team. I just think that they're a team that's not going to go out and get help. And I don't think they have the horses to make this last. Man, Tampa's got a good record. Boston's going to keep coming up. Cleveland and Oakland, I think you can catch.
I think Cleveland sucks. That lineup stinks.
Yeah. I think you're gonna catch them. Oakland, I think you might catch. But I just can't see the White Sox overtaking Tampa and Boston or the Yankees, whatever, to end up not winning the division. That's a tough race to catch. And, at least you can make it exciting, to see what you can do and how close you can get. But, the White Sox are in a little bit of limbo. It's going to be a weird trade season because, I don't see them going out and trading anybody.
I say you stick to a plan. You pick a plan, you stick to it. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, if you've got guys that are, rental bullpen arms like that, you're not re-signing. I guess even if you plan to re-sign them, is if they're just their contracts end at the end of the season, is maybe you could flip a couple of those guys, and that's not hurting you at all. But I just don't see them being major sellers because I don't know who you get rid of, and you're not going to go out and buy because I don't think you're that close of a race to be a buyer. So,
no, they shouldn't be a buyer. I really don't. Unless something really dramatic happens here, don't be buyers. Don't sell off valuable young assets for some mediocre veteran. Don't do it.
Agreed.
I think every sane Sox fan
Yeah,
can agree
absolutely
with that
agreed.
too.
Do you want to, while we're here, do you want to talk? I want to talk to Bears for a few minutes. You want to talk Bears for a few minutes?
Sure.
I don't have a ton. It just, have you been reading about this Bears kicking competition?
I have.
Like, at first, I get it. You're trying to make it you're trying to lighten the mood a little bit about the kicking situation, and how awkward it was and the way it ended, and, the dead money you have from cutting your kicker, etc. But now it's just kind of been a circus where how many kickers you bring in on a tryout basis and how many kickers you had signed to a contract, and then you cut a whole bunch of them, and then you have weird kicking competitions where you have like Augusta rules where everybody's got to be quiet while they're kicking, and they're kicking from the same distance that Cody Parkey missed in the playoffs. It's become just a weirdo thing that is kind of embarrassing.
You know what really is frustrating about all this? We have an amazing team that is right now Super Bowl worthy, I think. And yet we can't find a damn kicker. A kicker. One position. We're not missing, a running back. We're not missing a linebacker. We're not missing, I know it's still a little up in the air about Trubisky, but we have our quarterback for the future who has shown good things. We're looking for a damn kicker.
Right. It is a kicker.
You know my opinion on this. Did you see the article I wrote? You know my freaking opinion on this, what they should do, right?
Yep. Go for it. Spill it, my man.
Bring in Matt Bryant. Just bring him in.
Yep. That's exactly what I have written on my paper too, is bring the guy in.
What harm?
What
will it do?
Yep. Absolutely. Here's the thing is we got a lot of people that are like, oh man, Robbie Gould. You know what? Here's the thing. Robbie Gould was tagged with a franchise tag. There's nothing that you can do to get him. It has to be the 49ers letting him go. And they made their point very clear this weekend when they said, we don't care what he does. He's a kicker. He's going to be ready to go. As long as he shows up before the first game, we're good. So they don't care that he's holding out. Robbie Gould is holding out. Robbie Gould wants a long-term deal, and I have a feeling he would love to be back in Chicago.
Of course. He was at the game, at the playoff game. He was in the stands with his family.
Yeah, this is where his family lives. He would love to be here. And he wants a long-term deal. And those two things he doesn't have in San Francisco. But the thing is, San Francisco franchise tagged him. They've got the room to be able to pay him that franchise tag. And
it's over. It's done.
So you know what? Unless you're willing to give up draft capital to trade for Robbie Gould, and I'm not saying it's going to be the most expensive thing, but you're already short draft capital, and you're going to give up more for Robbie Gould, and then have to pay him a big contract. So I'm not saying that it's over and done. I'm just saying that the fat lady is, she's gargling some salt water to get ready to go on stage. This is almost over. Matt Bryant is a guy that you can sign, you bring in, and he comes in, he makes all the kicks. He's a professional. You're going to have to live with some things where the leg isn't what it used to be, and he doesn't have the boom, but you're not going to have to worry about him having the jitters. You're not going to have to worry about him having the yips. You're not going to have to worry about him not preparing to play in Chicago. He's a professional. He comes in and he's ready to go.
Last year, 13 games, age 43, 95% field goals made. 95%. His career, 86.2. And that's over 235 games. That is 450 attempts. 86.2%. And if you look at his career in Atlanta, which was 10 years, 88.7%. The guy was still efficient last year.
Absolutely.
Why not?
I mean,
I don't care how old he is.
Is he the best kicker in the league? Absolutely no. 0% no. Is he better than Chris Blewett, Elliott Fry, and Eddie Pinero? Yes.
Duh.
Yes, he is. So, is he as good as Robbie Gould? No. But do you have a shot at Robbie Gould? No, not really. So why not sign the guy that's your best option? Is he makes it from having a big old weakness hole to you're like, okay, we can live with this. He's not going to miss a 40-yard field goal in the playoffs.
Right.
Is he going to hit a 53-yarder to win a game? Probably not. But he's not going to miss a 40-yarder either.
He made 4 of 5 from 50-plus yards last year, just saying.
I hear you. He can. I'm just saying is that leg at 40-something is not what it used to be as far as strength. But he's a proven veteran. Is sign the guy and just move on. You've got the financial cap space to sign him. You're not signing to a long-term deal. He probably signed him to a 2-year deal, and there you go. You move on. So I just don't understand what the whole point, unless there's something that they know that we don't know, and they're, Robbie Gould's agent is saying something about, well, we think that we can weasel our way out of San Francisco, but barring some unknown thing that we don't know, I feel like they should sign Matt Bryan before somebody else does, and you're stuck with one of these goofy guys that can't kick a field goal in practice.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a circus. It's just, and you could hear the interviews from Matt Nagy, like
he's embarrassed.
He's embarrassed. He's pissed.
You're right. Pissed. He's embarrassed. There's so many good things going on with this team, and he's got to answer questions about stupid kickers.
Yeah.
And the Cubs just tied this game up with bobbles and bloopers.
Those were some of the most BS hits ever, but you know what? That shit has gone against the Cubs so much this season. Like it was due to happen to us.
But the other thing I wanted to mention just quickly is Bradley Soule, who's been the swing tackle for the Bears, caught a touchdown in one of the Matt Nagy's trick plays. Yeah, I don't know if everybody knows, but he was transitioned from offensive tackle to tight end during the offseason. They came to him and said, we want you to be tight end. And he's, last season, I think he was 6'7" and played at like 330. And he wants to be down to like 270. And he's still working to get down there, healthily, not just crash dieting. But he said he's on his way. And there's talks of how athletic he is, that he's not going to be a gimmick tight end, that he's going to be a legitimate used tight end. He's got good hands. He's a good blocker because he played years in the NFL as an offensive tackle. So he has the technique and the strength to be able to do this, to be a blocking tight end, and then still have the ability to, to chip and then run into a route and catch a ball. Like, I'm kind of excited to see what he can do, because that's another position where we worried about some of our depth. And if we have a guy that's athletic enough and has good enough hands, but is an absolutely good blocker, that's another hole that the Bears may have filled with somebody on their roster.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder how much that decision was made due to that touchdown pass. I mean, I'm kind of joking in that, but also kind of not joking. That was one of my favorite moments of the season.
I think I don't think it was because of that, but I think it reinforced the fact that he's got very good hands and he's athletic. And, this is something you see quite a bit with offensive linemen is they're not that heavy in real life. I mean, in their football life, they maintain that weight, but a lot of them, they have to work to, there's guys that like they have to work to keep the weight off in the off season. There's other guys that really have to work to maintain that weight because their body does not want to be that weight. And he's one of those guys that he inflates his weight to be able to play the position because you can't play offensive tackle in the NFL weighing 270. Maybe you get away with playing center, but offensive tackle you don't get away with that. So being able to lose the weight and utilize the athleticism that he has, it's something the Bears saw, caught their eye, and they probably went to him and said, "Hey, you're going to be in for some challenge with the offensive tackle position. We would like you to switch to tight end and utilize your hands, utilize your blocking ability, utilize your athleticism, and you have a much bigger likelihood of making this roster that way." And it seems to be, from all reports, it seems to be working out pretty well.
Yeah, for sure.
It alleviates the concern about who's going to be filling in if Trey Burton is hurt, or a former second round pick doesn't ever amount to what you thought he was, and who's going to fill in for Deion Sims. You've got a guy if that you feel that can put in the plays.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things they're going to be working on all summer. I think Nagy understands that. I think I think it's one of the reasons why Nagy is so frustrated about the whole kicking thing is that he feels so good about making adjustments in every other department, and then there's just this one nagging thing, nagging Nagy.
Absolutely. So it'll be cool to see. I'm really excited about training camp this year.
Me too.
I think we're going to see some cool things. And, I talked about it before is everyone's like, oh man, the Nagy after the second year, we're going to see great things. And, I'm being cautiously optimistic because we heard the same thing in the second year of the Trestman era. Is the first year of Trestman is we saw some good things. And that second year, there was flops. Yes. And offensively, there was some good things. But second year, there was a big regression. And I don't think we'll see that with Matt Nagy. But again, I'm just being cautiously optimistic. But I'm so excited to see what happens, what transpires in training camp, and how things look differently in this second year of Matt Nagy compared to the first.
Yeah, I feel a little better about that over Trestman, I'll be completely honest with you. And, one thing to keep in mind is you're going into this year having a new defense, not player-wise, but a bit new of a scheme when you have Chuck Pagano coming in, you have a new coordinator. So there's obviously going to be some changes there. You're going to have a new running back in David Montgomery, who is, I think, going to change the dynamic a little bit of how you use the run. I mean, let's face it, you can get creative with a guy like David Montgomery over Jordan Howard. The more time goes on, the more I actually like the move to get a David Montgomery over Jordan Howard, even though I really liked Jordan Howard. But I don't know about you. I can't remember exactly where I heard this, but I've been hearing things where people on other teams and the Bears itself were like, yeah, Jordan Howard was very, very predictable. So they were able to just kind of swallow the holes up when he would run because, Jordan Howard's a power back. That's what he is. He's not a guy that is going to go out and catch passes or do a bunch of fancy things. He's a power back. He's going to burst through. But now that you have multiple backs in Cohen and Montgomery that can do different things, that opens up your offense even more. I think one thing like that can really alter the dynamic of an offense.
Agreed. Agreed is I don't dislike Jordan Howard. I like him as a person. I like him as a football player. He was great for the system that we had in place in the previous regime.
Yeah,
he was a square peg in a round hole going into the Matt Nagy system, and we all said it. And they tried to make it work because you have to. You sort of had to, and it didn't work out like you expected. And they moved on. They moved on, and he's now with your new rival.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to when we play the Eagles because I just have that gut feeling Jordan Howard is going to have like a career day.
I just don't see it. I mean, not saying he won't do well. He's not going to put on. I don't think he's capable of putting on like an Adrian Peterson type performance that is memorable.
It's like Chicago. It's the Bears. This stuff always happens to them.
I mean, I think worst case scenario is he rushes for close to 100 yards and a touchdown. I think that's worst case scenario if you're the Bears.
And that Cubs lead is gone.
Hold on. This is how far in advance you are. I'm just seeing it now. Why is my TV so delayed?
I don't know.
Yeah. So, it's going to be exciting to see what happens in this offseason in the training camp. It really is. I think we're going to see some cool things. I think we're going to see a better coach Nagy. I think you're going to see a more confident coach Nagy. That was his first head coaching career. I can't remember who it was, but it was a former big time, football mind. And they were saying that the Bears got the right guy and they got him a year too soon.
Yeah.
In Matt Nagy, saying that he was still a little green, and once he figures everything out, they've got the right guy. And he's got that year under his belt. He's got more confidence. And I don't think there was ever a problem working with Vic Fangio, but I have a feeling that he's going to work better with a guy that has a number of years as a head coach on the other side. I think you can lean on him a little bit as far as helping you out. Not that you need help, but just delegation of things, and being able to offer advice that Vic Fangio didn't have. Vic Fangio is a fantastic coach, but even in his press conference, he said he was reaching out to people about like how to do the job of a head coach. And so you just couldn't ask him those things. You couldn't get that insight from him. So it was, there was no head coaching experience. And now you've got a guy who has a year under his belt, and you've got a guy who has 4 or 5 years as a head coach.
Yeah, Chuck Pagano's got a lot of experience all around, and you listen to the way he talks. I think he's got a really nice handle on this. He's been very talkative with the fans too. I don't know if you've noticed, and you just kind of like the things he says.
Absolutely. I don't really have anything else Bears. There was really not much I wanted to talk about, but this kicker situation just been sitting in my craw, and I wanted to get it out.
Yeah, I hear you.
Do you want to talk Cubs or do you want to talk about this Blackhawks trade?
Let's talk about the Blackhawks. I got a number of hockey thoughts.
So the Blackhawks made a trade that I wouldn't say it was surprising, but that they made a trade. The trade they made was a little bit surprising, not because of the player involved, but I didn't hear any rumors about this, so it sort of just came out of nowhere. They made a trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they traded Dominic Cahoon and a 5th round draft pick in this year's draft for Ali Mata, defenseman from Pittsburgh.
So a lot of people were pretty pissed about this. I'm not giddy about it, but I'm not mad about it. I think it's a move where you say, okay, they're taking a gamble on a defenseman who's still young but has been around for a while. A pretty inconsistent career. He's had some good seasons. He's coming off a pretty blah season. Dominic Cahoon is a replaceable asset. He had a nice season as a 4th liner, but I think they have some forwards coming into their system that they like a little more than Dominic Cahoon. So they're willing to trade Cahoon to try to fill in some of their much needed gaps. I'm not expecting Mata to light the world on fire, but I think you may be able to find something in him, considering he's 24 years old. He's had good seasons before, even if last season wasn't very good. And, maybe he just fits in better here. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting anything to be good, or overly good, but if he's solid enough, then I guess I'll take it at this point. And the other thing to keep in mind here is that this is not the only move of the offseason. I mean, there's plenty more moves to be made. And some people don't like that they're taking on $4 million in cap. This team has a lot of cap space, and they may not be done making trades.
Here's the thing. I'm hearing what everybody has to say. I don't agree, though. Is what guarantee do we have with Dominic Cahoon? Is he was going into his last year on his entry-level contract. So and this has kind of been in these last couple seasons when the Blackhawks have started to be a little more fiscally sound. If you've noticed, when they're coming onto a decision about signing a guy to an extension after his entry-level contract ends, and they're not sure about him, they're flipping him for somebody that still has a couple more years left. And so far, when they've made trades like that, they've done well. Mm-hmm. This is another one of those situations. Is Dominic Cahoon has 1 year left, and he played solid. I mean, he was in a lot of people's expected next guy to take the step forward, but he hasn't taken that step forward yet. And you're going to be, having to make a decision on him sometime during, next season of, do you re-sign him? What kind of money are you going to spend on him? Or you can bring in a guy who has take a position of riches. Your biggest pile of riches is wingers, and you can trade him for a position of desperate need, defenseman. You got a guy who's under contract for this coming season and then the 2 seasons after that. $4 million. It's not chump change, but it is not astronomical money. He's only 25. I'm sorry, he's only 24. He's young. He's won 2 Stanley Cups already. And if you look at his numbers last year, everyone says, he had a meh year. But you look, and his Corsi percent was 52, which is solid. And his Corsi per 60 was 62.11, which was second on the Penguins team. So from what I'm reading from a Penguins site, is the reason he was traded is they had too many defensemen. They needed to make room, and they felt that he was the most tradable because of his age, and a reasonable contract. And they felt he was the most likely to be traded because of that. And so they felt he's a very solid second pairing defenseman. And you look, and if nothing else, you put him in there and it allows you to move Brent Seabrook to a third pairing. And metrically, Seabrook had moments where he could still play defense if you could just minimize his minutes. And I think that might be the way to go. And unless you bring in another guy, you're looking at probably Keith and Gustafson, maybe Slater Cuckoo and Ali Mata in the second pairing, and Brent Seabrook and Connor Murphy in the third pairing. And I don't know. You see what you got there. I mean, I still think they tried to bring somebody, but I don't know.
Slater Cuckoo, I don't know why you brought him back.
I don't think he was terrible. You got him for
he was mediocre.
He was meh, but you brought him back for no money. He's $900,000. And if he's a guy that if you bring in somebody better for $1 million, you could bump him all the way down to your seventh defenseman. And he's a darn good seventh defenseman.
Yeah,
but I
want better depth than that. I don't want meh.
I do too. I definitely do. I'm just saying is if this is what you go with, Ali Mata, I think it's all right. I think I'm excited to kind of see what he can do. Is, you look at some of if you look at the Corsi numbers and you're like, not bad at all. Little slow in the skates, but he can play defense, and he's shown he can play a little offense. Last year was not so much, as people wonder what happened with the dip in the production. But he's solid, and so I think it allows you to push Seabrook down. Maybe. I still agree. We need better. I just don't know what that is at this point.
I don't either. That's why, like I said, it's a long off season. I can't be overly mad at this trade yet. I mean, it may suck. You never know, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where there's a whole off season to go. Here's a few thoughts I had going into it. You got a lot of room as it is. I'm curious. Do you think the Hawks try to shop Saad, not necessarily intend to trade him, but try to shop him? Because Saad, while I think he's a very solid player, and I think there's a spot for him here, like if you traded him away and you got that money off the books, you would have all the salary cap you could think of to work with. I mean, you'd basically be tied down with 4 players, but you'd have so much cap to work with. I'm not saying they should or will trade Saad, but do you think that's crossed their mind? If they were, let's say they traded Saad and just said, all right, hey, Artemi Panarin, here's all the cash you could get. It's yours. Come back with us. Do you think that's crossed their mind?
Absolutely. It would be silly to not have crossed their mind. They have to consider trading everybody that doesn't have a no movement clause and see what you can get. That's part of being a general manager in any sport is, you may say nobody's untouchable, but pretty much if somebody wows you enough, pretty much anybody should be considered tradable. Like who that doesn't have a known trade clause in their contract on this Blackhawks team would you not consider trading?
I know there's a lot of talk about them trying to trade Artem Anisimov, and I think that's 50-50. Part of me thinks it could definitely happen. The other part of me says, I don't know, maybe they think he's still valuable. Maybe they won't find enough, because I think trading Artem Anisimov wouldn't be as much of a cap move as just a, hey, here's an aging asset. Maybe we could find something better or something more useful for the future. I don't know. Though he's not making a lot of money, but he's making a decent amount, enough where if you got that salary off the books, it would clear up a bit more room.
Agreed. And back to this trade real quick is people are mad that we traded a 5th round draft pick and a guy that scored 13 goals last year that's on the last year of a rookie or entry level contract for a defenseman that's locked away for 3 years for okay money, won 2 Stanley Cups and had really solid Corsi numbers last year. I don't see that as a bad thing. I really don't. I just, maybe if Cahoon looks great next year, guess what? The Penguins can't afford to keep him and he goes somewhere else and they got 1 year of a good deal and we'll get probably 3 years of pretty decent defenseman play.
Yeah. Let's hope. They obviously see something in him.
We've got, so we've got, I think after this trade, a little over 17 million in cap space left.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And people are talking 2 names. There's 2 names that I keep hearing over and over that Blackhawks fans want this guy. And you can probably guess at least
Artemi
one.
Panarin.
Right. And the other one is Erik Karlsson. And if the rumors that I'm hearing are true, is the offer that San Jose is making to Erik Karlsson is you're not going to pay that for the Blackhawks, because then you will have your top 4 defensemen locked in for an astronomical sum of money for a long time. Is the rumor I'm hearing is it's going to eclipse Drew Doughty's 8-year, $88 million contract.
I never thought that Karlsson was going to be an option.
No, I didn't either. I thought if the option was going to be there, it was going to be because you traded for him last year and then signed him. Once he went away, you don't have the same rules as in hockey as far as, bird rights, but you are able to offer an extra year in the length of the deal in the NHL. So you can offer $8 million if you have him, or 8 years. They can do 8 years and big money. And he is probably the best defenseman in the league, arguably. But he's he's 29 years old, and you sign him to that length of a deal. On the back end of it, you're going to have another Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith situation. I don't see why you want to attach him to that, yourself to that right now. And, I just let that team sign him to a big deal. Is you home grow your own defenseman and try to do it that way. The other name, Artem Anisimov, Artemi Panarin, is Artem Anisimov. We got to get rid of him. Artemi Panarin, I don't think that one happens either. But that's one of those strange flirty things that they're doing, this like peacock dance with feathers around each other. And so if they signed Artemi Panarin to a deal, I wouldn't be shocked, but I wouldn't be shocked if he just went some like weirdo team that, like the Islanders or something.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those scenarios where he either is going to really want to play, like really, really want to play where he wants to go, or it's going to be the team that just forks over the most green.
I just feel like he is such a wild card as a dude that the most money doesn't necessarily draw the most interest from him. I think that he wants to play somewhere he likes, because I feel like his current team would pay him a lot of money, but he's made it very clear he doesn't want to be there.
No, I think that ship it never sailed to begin with. Let's face it.
Yeah, he wants to. I think he wants to play somewhere where he enjoys playing. So I think he, as a person, he's just a wild card. That's kind of the consensus in sports is if you can trump any other situation if you pony up the most money. I mean, we mentioned before with Manny Machado, you bring in the guy's brother-in-law and his best friend, and you offer him $250 million, and he goes, "Well, I got 50 million more over here, so see you guys later." That I think Artemi Panarin is kind of a wild card. I think is if you can be like, "Hey, listen, we'll lock you in to play with Patrick Kane on every single line, and and we're going to pay you pretty solid money." I think that could be more enticing than somebody offering him just stupid money.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's probably more than just money in this situation, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him.
And I'm not trying to be a meatball here. I recognize that most of the time it's the most money gets it. I just think this guy's kind of a weirdo and a wild card in that way. So, he's not going to take a paltry offer. You're going to have to pay him some serious money, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be whoever bids the highest gets him. It's going to be a situation where he wants to go.
Yeah, I think there's definitely mutual interest between the Blackhawks and Artemi Panarin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. You don't think that Artemi Panarin wouldn't want to play with Kane again?
Oh, he would love that.
You bet your butt. He probably dreams about it. He probably dreams about skating on frozen vodka with him.
punching taxi drivers with him.
Oh God.
Too soon?
Way too soon.
So we are just days away from the NHL draft. So it is coming up in the next couple of days. So by the time we do the next show, we will know who the newest Blackhawk is. And I don't know who number one will be, but I can tell you in no particular order who number one and number two will be. It'll be Hughes and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Kako.
I think that's how you say it, but yeah, I'm already picturing in my mind Hughes putting on that Devils jersey.
Yeah, I think that's where they go. But either way, those are the top two picks. Yeah, those are the top two picks. So that leaves the Blackhawks with anybody else that they want besides those two guys. And the two names that keep surfacing over and over are Alex Turcotte and Bowen Byram.
Turcotte's the one,
the defenseman from.
I'm just saying.
The more I keep reading, I'm okay with either one.
Me too.
But I'm hearing that Byram is the guy that could help, solve the defenseman issue with the Blackhawks. But I really like Turcotte, so I'm okay with either one of those guys. I'm probably gonna be a boo bird if it's anybody else. But I really like those two names, and if it's one of those two guys, I'm not going to be sad either way.
No, neither will I. I mean, we got a third overall pick. That's pretty impressive. The fact that Stan Bowman can get a third overall pick after having an above 500 season, and Garpax are stuck in number 7 year after year. And oh my God, I loved just that smirk on Stan Bowman's face when that happened. Like that, you got to admit, that was awesome.
It was big. I mean, definitely not big as getting number one, but still, you get the number 3 overall pick. You're going to get a real solid player, and so I'm excited about this. We'll see. I think the night before is the NBA draft, so we'll have the Bulls drafting 7th. We'll have the Blackhawks drafting 3rd. We're gonna have new blood in the city, and hopefully some renewed winning.
Yeah, I think one day is going to be drinking to forget. The next day is going to be drinking to an exciting future, and it's not necessarily the one that everybody wants because the Bulls obviously haven't won since '98, and they're kind of in the dumps right now. But hey, it's exciting that the Blackhawks have the potential to get a star while still having a core.
Not to interrupt you. So, did you happen to see the scoreboard a second ago at the Cubs
I looked
Dodgers
away
game?
very quickly.
Oh, they showed a picture of the Clayton Kershaw bobblehead because apparently, I don't know if it's tonight or if they were advertising a future game, but they showed a picture of the bobblehead. Holy cow, it looks like a garden gnome.
Does it?
I don't know if Clayton Kershaw just looks like a garden gnome or if they did a really bad job with that sculpt. It's just, he looked like a garden gnome.
There are so many bad bobbleheads out there in terms of giveaways. Occasionally you get good ones, but you go to anywhere, there are some really bad ones. But for some reason, maybe it's because of the way they have helmets, they wear helmets. I think hockey gets those bobbleheads right, and baseball sometimes get them really, really wrong. Do you remember that awful Chris Bryant bobblehead a few years ago where it looked more like Nomar Garciaparra?
Yeah. I do, but hands down, the worst bobblehead ever was the A-Train for the Bears. And I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about, but it looked like they reused a white player and just gave him blackface. If you look it up, it is the most, it was a McDonald's giveaway, I believe. And they totally pulled it off because it looked like blackface, and you're like, oh my God, who looked at this and said, yeah, thumbs up on this one, because it is so bad. He's got like bright red lips and dark black skin, and you're like, wow, this is super racist.
Yeah. Ugh. I don't know why. I feel like some bobbleheads, the creation process is just so lazy.
It's probably they're just reusing things. They're like, what heads do you have at the factory? Like at the bobblehead factory. Like, what do you got?
Yeah, right. We'll just repaint this and maybe add a chin, like a chin goatee here, and there we go.
They're like, there we go. Or in this case, like, the player's black and this guy's white. Yeah, you use the straight black spray paint on it.
Yeah, exactly. Just
bright red lips. There you go.
Oh, awful.
You can Google it. It is so bad that I'm embarrassed that it was a Bears player. I'm so embarrassed for it.
Yeah, that's bad. Ugh. There was before we move on to Cubs, there was one more hockey thought I wanted to talk to you about.
Go for it.
So, the Blues won the Stanley Cup.
It didn't happen if I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either. I didn't really want to watch it, but I'm not really bothered by it. I don't know about you. I'm not.
I am, but I'm not. Like, it bothers me. Anybody wins the Stanley Cup with the Blackhawks, and it's division rival. That's frustrating. But it is. I don't feel as bad as I thought I would feel, or as I was expecting to feel. Maybe that will get worse during the season when their dumb fans try to do the wave or something ridiculous.
Next year during those games, the rivalry games, it's going to get annoying. Trust me, I know.
But it doesn't feel nearly as bad had it been like the Predators or something won.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I said was it doesn't feel as bad if it were that like 2014 team that had Ryan Reeves and David Backes. That was just such a hateable team. This one was not as much.
Right.
And the one thing I'm a little bitter about is the fact that, look, maybe I'm totally wrong and they continue to be good for the next few years. I could be totally wrong on this take, but the way it all happened, the way it all came together, to me, it felt like just the definition of a lightning in a bottle season. But it happens.
Yeah,
it's part of sports.
It does. And honestly, I think once I saw the matchup and then I heard all of the stupid, awful, annoying Boston fans chirping, I was like, I can't have the Bruins win this. So they've gone from we hate Yankees fans because they're the worst to like, oh, you think Yankee fans are bad? Here, hold my beer at the bar, and they just trumped them. Like it is terrible. They're 10 times worse than Yankee fans.
Yeah, that's the one thing I at least can say we don't have to see another Boston championship. I mean, that's kind of nice. I'm sick of them just in general winning everything every year. So there's that.
Yeah, so at least there's that. But
the other thing is, I've kind of just when they were going on that run, I just kind of put my hands up and accepted that it was their year. Just everything was going their way, even when it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Even when, they went from just terrible team that wasn't going to make the playoffs to they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that's part of sports. That's part of sports. Sometimes you get hot at the right time.
It is what it is.
Yeah, and I thought I'd be a lot more angry, a lot more bitter. I don't really feel anything right now because I thought that the next few days was going to be nothing but Blues fans being like, oh, Blackhawks sub, look at our Stanley Cup. It hasn't really been that way, at least not from what I've seen.
No, I have not gotten any flack. I haven't heard any, loud chirping. I think they're all just in quiet surprise.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I also think that personally, I think the Blues had just become to hate Boston so much that the Blackhawks are just kind of like, oh, whatever. Yeah, at least right now. It's going to really intensify next year when the two play each other. But right now, I don't think really that the Blackhawks are on their mind. And it was like when the Cubs won the World Series, my goal, my thought, my hope wasn't just going and saying, hey, Cardinals, look at us. I didn't really care about the Cardinals when we won the World Series. And I think that's kind of a similar thing here.
Right.
But yeah, that's all I really have on that. I just kind of wanted to talk about it very briefly.
So I guess we wrap this up talking Cubs here.
Yeah, very up and down, to say the least.
Let's talk the injuries first. So we've got CJ Edwards on the 10-day disabled list. Now we've got Kyle Hendricks on the 10-day disabled list with shoulder inflammation. That no bueno. No bueno.
Yeah, the way Kyle Hendricks talked, he said he's not too worried about it right now. I also think he may only miss one start, kind of depending on how it goes. How he progresses with the injury, and they obviously have a day off, so if he only misses one start and he comes back and he's fine, it won't be as big of a deal, but it still kind of sucks because he's one of your better pitchers.
Absolutely. So hopefully it is, I mean, especially when you're in a little bit of a rut here. You've got to make sure that you have your best pitchers to help you get that out of it. And, that we've seen that over the last several years. You've had some pitcher that's been your rut stopper, your losing streak stopper. And, Kyle Hendricks is always a good bet to give you a solid game there. So, even missing in one start is when you're neck and neck with the Brewers for the division lead. It sucks a little bit, and we'll see who the guy is that's going to be filling in for that spot. I believe they called up
Tim Collins was already up. It was Rowan Wick. Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping that it's Chatwood that gets the start, but we'll see.
There was a lot of talk about Adbert Alzolay, but it doesn't look like that's happening right now. Fans want to see Adbert Alzolay almost as much as Sox fans want to see Dylan Cease. Almost as much.
My fear with Alzolay is the guy's got some electric stuff. I mean, his K rate's ridiculous. He's at like 13 Ks per 9. And his strikeout to walk ratio is like almost 8-1.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But his fly ball tendency is the thing that scares me at Wrigley Field. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher, and he's averaging over a home run a game in the minors. My worry is those windy gusts at Wrigley Field you could see some long balls off of him. That's my concern.
Yeah, and I get that. I really do. Obviously, you'd feel better about him pitching in April and May at Wrigley Field than in the middle of the summer, but I get what you mean. But I feel like it's going to be one of those things where even if you have some worries, eventually you're going to want to see him because the stuff is very good. I just don't know exactly when that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, guy's got a plus curve and a plus fastball, 96 mile an hour fastball. Great control, good strikeout numbers. I mean, crazy good. You definitely want to see him, and he looks like he's your best prospect to be a major league pitcher that you have in the minors. So,
yeah,
you definitely want to see him at some point. Maybe it's me. I just a nervous Nelly. I don't like to see guys like that brought up on an emergency basis. I like seeing them brought up and in a controlled situation where you're like, okay, we don't need to bring him up. We want to bring him up to see, and you give him a few innings here and there rather than be like, we got a guy that's hurt. We have to bring him up.
No, I get that. I definitely get that. It's a very valid point, and I think that's why Theo didn't automatically go, all right, well, here comes Alzolay. I think that's kind of the reason that wasn't done. That same thought was going through the mind of Epstein.
Because, I mean, you really got to start developing these, these pitchers. Because if you look, you've got 2 more years of Lester, but you don't know what Lester you're going to get because you're already starting to see
cracks start beginning to show.
Yeah. So you've got 2 more years of him. Cole Hamels is an unrestricted free agent after this season. You've got Jose Quintana. You got one more option year for him. Then he's an unrestricted free agent. Tyler Chatwood's 1 more year and then unrestricted free agent. And, you got Yu Darvish and Kyle Hendricks for a while.
Yeah.
But, your rotation's starting to need to be filled out, and you're going to have to start filling them with cost control guys. You can't afford to have $25 to $30 million starting pitchers at every spot in the rotation.
No, and I mean, it's not like there's going to be a bunch of free agents that are going to fit that bill. It's not like the offseason the Cubs got Lester, where Lester and Scherzer and a couple other free agents were on the market. It's not going to exactly be that way. So what I think the biggest free agent starter this coming offseason is Garrett Cole. He's at least one of them.
And he's not coming here.
No, I don't think so.
I think that's one of those, even if you have the most money, he is not coming here.
No. Which sucks because he's good, but he clearly doesn't like us.
I mean, Cole Hamels has pitched himself for a new contract.
Yeah, I know there's a long way to go in the season, but my goodness, his last few starts have been outstanding. Outstanding.
It every point here makes me go, damn it, I wish instead of just picking up that $20 million option, they would have given him like a 2-year deal.
Oh, I know. That's what I wanted to see them do. I mean, not mainly just for the money this year, but just to have him more than one more year. I mean, yeah, $20 million for 1 year is quite a bit, but still, if you gave him a similar deal in terms of cash, but 2 years, that would have been like a steal. That would have been really nice.
I mean, I was saying, you do a 2-year, $30 million contract. So
yeah, I'd take that.
It's $30 million guaranteed for him. And it lowers the average value per year for you. You're like, okay, win-win. And like, hell, I would even be fine if they wanted to do like a 3-year, $40 million. You're like, okay, that's still, you pay it's assuming, all right, we give him that 20 and then it's $10 million per year for the next 2. So even if he isn't that good, he's not that expensive. But now you're at the position where you're like, all right, he's a year older and we have to make a decision on free agency with him. And assuming he pitches this way for the rest of the year, you're like, man, we don't like giving new contracts to pitchers this age, but this guy is still dealing.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what you could ask him to do. He had a little bit of a rough patch, but you look at his 2 starts against the Cardinals. And what was the other team he faced recently? He had that great start at Wrigley against the Cardinals. And then his last game, it was against, was it against Colorado?
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. And he was brilliant. In Colorado.
Yeah. In Colorado, where every pitcher stinks.
Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. I think he struck out 9 guys in that game. So he didn't need like contact or like round balls. He was missing bats against a very good lineup in a very hitter-friendly ballpark.
Yeah, after you got beat up on, previously to that.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about this week in Cubs, or do you want to talk some of the trade rumors that you're hearing?
Well, first I kind of want to talk a few things about the week. I just want to touch on a few things.
Absolutely. Let's go.
I think we all have to stand and cheer for what Yu Darvish did last night in LA. He was coming to a hostile environment where everybody there was on his ass, where he was literally just being beaten into the ground because of what happened in the 2017 World Series. He ends up pitching his best game as a Cub. 7 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 10 strikeouts.
Only 1 walk.
Only 1 walk, yeah. That was impressive. And that the fact that they were able to come back and win the 9th, that was one of the most important wins of the year so far because they were facing a 4-game sweep today. And even if they lose 3 out of 4, they could have easily been swept if they didn't come back and win that game. It stinks that Darvish couldn't get the win, but, wins or whatever. But my goodness, what an effort.
Absolutely, yeah. You hope that was, it's never been about the stuff for Yu Darvish. It's always the mental aspect of the game and not having confidence in certain pitches. And what's happening is he's walking guys. Nobody's hitting his stuff. a few home runs here and there, but mostly it's been walks and getting yourself in bad situations. And whenever you start walking guys, it creates pressure on yourself. It creates pressure on the defense behind you. And that's the situation that the atmosphere that he's creating is hopefully at this start not just the start that he had, but you're right. The location of where the start was and what team it was against. Hopefully that just boosts him and goes, you know what? If I can do this here against this team, I can do it anywhere.
And Darvish even said after the game, he felt like he got closure after that 2017 World Series, and he feels like he can truly move forward. Will the results come? We'll see. But, hopefully, to your point, that's what happens. Because, lately, he has not been bad. He had one terrible inning in Colorado where he was up 4-0 and he gave up a game-tying home run. Against Colorado at home, he was cruising and then things kind of fell apart a little late. But overall, he's been pretty good.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And you're right. That third inning, I think it was the third inning against Colorado.
Yeah.
It got ugly there. But, other than that, and it wasn't, he's been pretty solid. So I just, you hope that last start continues going forward, and that's the kind of guy that you have. And you think about it is, the guy didn't pitch for like a year. So hopefully now it's just, this is just the time it took to get everything back to where it needed to be.
That's the hope. That's definitely the hope.
You get mentally right, and he's starting to physically be 100%. Not that he was injured before, but just in the baseball shape that we needed him in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw the fastball last night. He was hitting mid-90s. He hit a few 97. That one pitch he struck out Bellinger with it was like a 96 fastball, and it just had great movement. Oh, it was a thing of beauty. And I think what you're seeing now is more confidence in the fastball. One of the reasons he was walking so many guys is that he wasn't trusting his fastball when he was throwing it. He didn't know where it was going to go. So he was forced to throw a lot of breaking stuff. Now that he's trusting it a little more, you're seeing more of the results. And because of that, I think you're also seeing Darvish pitch a little more to contact. You're seeing more ground balls, fly ball outs, and that's fine. It helps efficiency, because the other thing you're seeing is that he's been able to go past the fifth inning. That was a big problem.
Is even in that loss to the Rockies, he went 6 innings. He went 7 innings against the Dodgers. So you're right. You're seeing more than 4 2/3 or 5 1/3. You're seeing 6 full, 7 full innings, and that's what we need from him. And you're right. It's part of the problem was there was so many pitches because he's nibbling and walking guys and then having to get out of situations. And, when you've got guys on base, then it becomes, you can't give up a base. So it just it begets itself. And if you trust that defense behind you is going to make the play, you're more willing to give up fly balls. You're more willing to give up, grounders, because you feel like the defense behind you is going to make the play. And when he's fully comfortable with that, you're going to see more innings out of him, because you're right. The perfect word you used was efficiency.
And you look at that last start in Colorado, I think he was only at 80 some pitches when he was pulled. So he probably could have gone another inning. Just saying, so it wasn't like it was the 6th inning and he was over 100 pitches. The pitch count was pretty all right. Madden just decided to pull him. So the efficiency is one of those things I think was a big step.
Absolutely.
Less full counts, less walks. It all kind of comes together. Now, I'm saying this and hoping that this continues, because I feel like we jinx literally everything on the show. When we talk about somebody struggling, they burst out, or we talk about somebody doing really well, they start to slump. So hopefully this isn't a jinx, but just based on observation, the past few starts, I've really liked what I've seen from Darvish, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, absolutely. It's John Lester that I'm concerned about now.
Here's what's funny. You've seen the rotation kind of shift around in many aspects because at the beginning of the year, probably the top two pitchers were Jose Quintana and John Lester. Those two have kind of slumped down to the bottom. Now Yu Darvish is working his way up, and then consistently nice up there is Cole Hamels and Kyle Hendricks. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because Quintana's been pretty meh lately.
Yeah, in Colorado, it wasn't the runs. It was the number of walks he had versus strikeouts, and not going at least 5 innings.
You're seeing the nibbling again.
Yes. Yeah. So tonight he looks all right.
He started off bad, found a groove, then got shelled, and then they were able to bail him out. Kind of weird.
So I don't know if I would say he's slumping. I just think that he's got to find consistency and be more attacking.
Yeah, and I don't want to say he's been bad. I just think he's been meh. Going into this game since the beginning of May, his ERA is like 4.17-ish, which is like literally at league average.
Yeah, that's
so not bad, but not great, like he was in April.
Yeah, that's meh. And we need better than meh.
He's had some good starts in there, but again, the past I'd say the past few weeks he's been very 2018, where overall the numbers are meh. He's looked better than how he's pitched in some instances, and then in some instances, some bad outings have kind of blown up the numbers a little bit. What would you say overall? That's meh.
Yeah, John Lester has been not good. I mean, that ERA at the beginning of the season was like 2 something, and now it's 4 something. I mean, it has gone up a lot. And you're like, all right, you'll just be seeing one really good start, and you're like, okay, maybe John Lester's back. But then you see a couple, like one good start, 2 to 3 bad starts, one good start, 2 bad starts. You're not seeing the consistency, and that's the frustrating part. And it wasn't against Colorado; it was against the Dodgers. And I get the Dodgers might be the best team in baseball, but
at least in the NL for sure.
But to give up 6 runs in 5 innings, you can't have that.
Well, it was really odd in that first game, because remember his first 3 innings, he looked like completely locked in, and then it just all fell apart. I don't know if getting hit in the foot had anything to do with it, but I think it was a little more obvious when he had been struggling lately to say, well, maybe these are part of his struggles and not just like one bad thing where things fell apart or one line drive off the foot. I think that there was a little concern there with the way he had been pitching lately.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, taking one off the foot, how does that hurt you in previous games? It's not like he's been lights out, and then more than one bad start. There's been quite a few poor starts this year.
At least lately, because you remember he started off very good. Very, very good. Consistently very good. But yeah, probably the past month, it just hasn't been that way.
Right. Let's see. Trying to find his home and away splits. So his home ERA is 2.45. His away is 5.82.
Wow, I didn't think they were that dramatically. I knew the road ERA would be higher, but I didn't know it was that bad. I guess you're right, because you look at his last few road starts. The one in Washington was bad. The one in LA ended up being bad. There's probably one other road start he had in there that wasn't good that I'm missing. But yeah, because I think his last really good start was at home against the Angels.
Which I hope that home numbers look good. And I'm gonna pause it real quick. Does Steve Cishek wear does he wear kayaks as shoes?
It looks like
Those shoes look at how big his feet look.
huge.
I don't know if it's just those ugly shoes make him look bigger, or if they are that big, but good grief.
Yeah, they're huge.
What's with the uniforms? I did not see the beginning of the game. Like, what's that?
Is there? It might be a Father's Day theme. I don't know if there's.
Like look like clouds.
They do look like clouds.
Yeah. But the next start for John Lester is going to be Wednesday against Lucas Giolito.
Yeah,
So
that could be ugly for the Cubs.
John Lester better have everything locked in for that game, because you know Lucas Giolito is going to be dealing.
Oh yeah, you know the Sox are going to play over 100% against the Cubs. They want to beat us.
Yeah, luckily it's a 2-game series.
Thank
Hopefully we get like Manny Banuelos in the other game.
The two guys I didn't want to face were facing Lucas Giolito and Ivan Nova, who in his career has done decently well against the Cubs. And he's just that type of guy that would annoyingly shut the Cubs down, a guy with a lot of sinking action. And I could just see the frustration, ground ball after ground ball off him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who we have in the other game. I didn't see that.
Hamels.
But what is it?
Hamels.
No, I didn't see who we're facing. Who the
So it's Ivan Nova versus Hamels, and then
Giolito. It is Ivan Nova. Oh
yeah.
Oh well, we'll see how it goes, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a 1-1 split.
If it's a 1-1 split, I can live with that.
Yeah, it would be nice to take 2, but I mean, this week, 2 against the White Sox, 4 against the Mets is. You gotta turn this around. You should be able to take 3 or 4 of the Mets, and at least one against the White Sox. Is you can't split both these.
No, because you're gonna got 4 against Atlanta.
Yeah. So you've gotta take these wins where you can, and it seems like it's funny because it seems like the Brewers are like playing to the same level as the Cubs. So when the Cubs start struggling, the Brewers start struggling right along with them, and so nobody gets a big lead. And when the Cubs are winning, the Brewers are winning. So I mean, that's good in the framework of keeping the race tight. But if you're the Cubs, again, like last year, you can't just rely on the other team to lose. You've got to win.
Yeah, that's kind of, you can look at this stretch for Cubs baseball in 2 ways. Super frustrated that the Brewers have given you an opportunity to extend the lead and you can't. Also thankful that the Brewers haven't been playing lights out baseball. So yeah, and the Cubs are losing now. He never touched. It doesn't look like he touched. I'm trying to watch the replay now. And how did you not throw him out? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he touched. And slow-mo, yeah, he came across. Nah. Ugh, stupid Dodgers.
What a weak throw. My goodness.
I could throw that.
Me
and I have a
too.
weak arm. So I guess two more things I have to talk about. I don't know what else you have to talk about, but so it's looking like the Cubs are dead set on getting a left-handed bullpen arm. I think we called that a couple weeks ago, but that all signs are pointing to that. So we've got Will Smith out there, Tony Watson. We got Doolittle, Brad Hand. There's the guy from Kansas City. So there's some options out there.
Yeah, there are.
I just don't know what. I mean, what do you trade Ian Happ? Is that what you got to trade?
I guess. You're not trading Alzolay. You're not trading Nico Horner.
I would hope you wouldn't trade Nico Horner.
I mean, he's hurt right now, so I don't think that's going to happen.
So Ian Happ or somebody. I mean, is Addison Russell on the block? Do you trade him
for what? A bag of prunes? It's worth nothing right now.
It's funny because if you read like the Bleacher Report, the comments on articles, man, everybody beats up the Cubs fans. Like Cubs fans think that like, oh, best reliever in the game. We'll trade you Ian Happ, and who else are you throwing in for it? Like, damn it! Like they really are beating us up here.
Yeah, they are.
Like I can't even say anything else about it. Like I just got to own that one. Is I don't know what we trade, and Theo's gonna have to find a way because it would be nice to have a left-handed bullpen arm that was in here somewhere.
Yeah, obviously I mean, do you really want Kyle Ryan to keep getting big spots? Probably not.
No, I don't think that's optimal. I don't think that's what you want long term. But that's the world we currently live in. And
I cannot. Oh my God! I'm sorry. I can't get over that throw by Bryant from left field.
No, he's a third baseman. He should have a better arm than that.
That was so weak. He should have been out by a mile. That was such a terrible send.
Man, the Braves really beat the crap out of the Phillies today.
Yes, they did. Wasn't it like
15-1.
Yikes. Oh, Nationals won 15-5 over the Diamondbacks. That's what I was looking at. Yeah, two 15 scorers.
And the Padres, I think the Padres win like 14-13. So, man, there were some high scoring games today.
Yeah, there were.
Was Brian trying to throw to a cutoff man? Like what?
That was just, oh my God, that was weak. I hate ragging on Bryant, but my goodness.
It wasn't even on the right side of the plate. It wasn't just weak. It was not even on the right side of the plate. Like, oh.
Yeah, that's where defense. My God. He literally picked up the ball before he was even at third base.
I'm just saying, Schwarber would have thrown him out.
Oh, he would have nailed him. Absolutely would have nailed him.
Hopefully that doesn't cost us the game here. Looking very well like it will, but you never know. So I saw a quote that made it look like maybe we will see Ben Zobrist again this year.
Yeah, it was Jed Hoyer on the radio, I believe, said when he comes back. Ooh.
So here's my thing on Zobrist's return is he's older. I'm not going to call him old because I'm older, but is baseball age. He's older, and all of the injuries that he's had during his Cubs career that have caused some drop in production, they've all been because of nagging injuries. And so you don't want to say that it's a positive that the guy's going through the situation, but maybe you call it a silver lining and you try to look at the positives of a bad situation, and you go, okay, if he does come back, he's had a lot of time off to really get his body back together. And you kind of look at him like a late season addition, like a free agent addition or a trade acquisition, because what veteran bat are you going to get that's as good as Ben Zobrist at this point with what you have to give up?
Not much. And I'll tell you right now, so far the cargo experiment does not look all that great. The swing is so slow.
I was very hopeful. I didn't have expectations, but I was hopeful that it would just be a change of scenery, because he's not really that far removed from being a good baseball player. So I don't know what happened.
I maybe he's just not physically there anymore. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it just doesn't look like it's working out. What I'd like to see them do, I don't know if you've been paying any attention to Raul Garcia in AAA. This dude is absolutely mashing, and he can play all over the infield. Addison Russell's absolute garbage. The cargo thing isn't exactly working out, but try this Raul Garcia kid. I know he may not be the answer, but I say give him a shot. He's clearly hitting well. So, why not?
It's anything's got to be better than Addison Russell, because he's just hot garbage.
Yeah.
He's easy out. Sure, he's a solid defender, but you can get a lot of light hitting. Oof. That was not good off the face mask. But you've got to be able to get better production from that position. And I'm looking up Raul Garcia's stats here.
Like
297, 368, 617 with a 985 OPS.
Uh-huh.
I like that. I can live with that.
I know it's the minors, and we'll see if it transpires, but he started in AA, and immediately when he was promoted to AAA, he just kept mashing.
Yeah, that's his stats in AAA. His overall stats on the year are 296, 377, 607, 984. So it's almost identical. He's actually has better numbers in AAA, but they're almost identical. 297 versus 295 batting average, 368 versus 391 OBP, 617 versus 590 slugging, 985 versus 981 in OPS. Like, all right. 17 home runs in between the two.
Yeah. He's been hitting it out of the park like crazy lately. If you watch he's a switch hitter. If you watch any of the footage of some of his recent home runs, tremendous power. Really nice stroke.
Yeah, I'm for all for trying that, because Addison Russell sucks as a person, sucks as a baseball player. Adios. If we could flip him, man, if we could get a left-handed relief pitcher for him, that would be a major coup.
Yeah. No kidding.
But yeah, I mean, with Ben Zobrist there's no veteran bat that you can get that is anywhere near as good as him with what you have to trade or that's available in free agency. So him coming back is going to be huge for your team. It gives you another option as a leadoff hitter, gives you another option in corner outfield, another option at second base, veteran bat coming off the bench, leader in the clubhouse. That's a big win for the Cubs if he can come back and he comes back, ready to play baseball.
Yep, you hope.
You hope. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, no, just a few, I guess, nothing major, just a few things I'd like to note. Good for Anthony Rizzo for playing the way he has. He's just 5 home runs away from his total last year, so that's really cool. And exciting news that Craig Kimbrell is going to be joining the Iowa Cubs this week, I believe.
Yeah, I think Tuesday. Tuesday he joins the Iowa. I forgot about that. I meant to mention it, and that's really exciting news.
So yeah, we'll see how fast it takes.
I hope.
I think he's on a good track right now, from what it seems like.
Yeah, I really hope it's soon because the Cubs could use that. I mean, he's not the closer spot's not the reason that they've been struggling here, but you feel like him coming in is going to be a boost to the team in general. You've heard several. If you listen to interviews with former players, they all talk about how when you add a big time player mid-season, that it gives a big boost to everybody in the clubhouse. And so hopefully that carries forward when Kimbrell comes, because not only is he a big source of, fill a big source of weakness for the Cubs, like fills a need, but he's, an absolute stud at what he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swirsky Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening on this Father's Day. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, or the TuneIn app. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow. So if you have any friends that like Chicago sports, definitely turn them on to the show. Check us out on social media at ShyFanPat1, at Swirsky Sports, Facebook.com/Swirsky Sports, SwirskySports.com. And thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears.
Oh, when the Bears go Bears.